What Coco Gauff said she always told her team about Aryna Sabalenka after winning 2023 US Open. Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka have forged quite the rivalry in recent years, meeting on some of tennis' biggest stages. That should come as little surprise though, given they are two of the best players in the world. Sat first and third respectively in the current world rankings, both finished 2025 with a Grand Slam title under their belts. Ironically, Coco Gauff's came in Paris, coming from behind in the final to beat the Belarusian. This was not the first time this had happened in a match of this magnitude either. How Coco Gauff reacted to beating Aryna Sabalenka to win the 2023 US Open title. Aryna Sabalenka was also Gauff's opponent in her first ever major final at the 2023 US Open. Again, the American came from a set down to win the title. It was a fairy tale run from the teenage sensation, who now has 2 Grand Slam titles at just 21. She is poised to win many more as her career progresses. However, her reaction to claiming this triumph was an intriguing one, as Gauff actually told the press what she had always been telling her team about Sabalenka before that final. She revealed, "Aryna is an incredible player. Congratulations on the #1 ranking. It's well-deserved. I always tell my team all the time that you're a real nice person behind the scenes, and the competitiveness and that fire that you bring is what makes sports better." Gauff also thanked her haters after that US Open title, in a humorous reaction to any criticism she had previously received. Coco Gauff's head-to-head record versus Aryna Sabalenka. Gauff and Sabalenka's rivalry is one of the WTA's most captivating, and that interest reached fever pitch earlier this year. After all, Sabalenka's reaction to losing the French Open final was explosive and drew plenty of criticism. She argued that Iga Swiatek, whom she had beaten in the semifinal, would have beaten Gauff, and that the final was effectively decided by the unruly conditions on Philippe Chatrier. The backlash was huge, with Chris Evert criticizing Sabalenka's conduct amongst a whole host of disappointed key figures. Since then she has apologized, and did beat Gauff in the recent WTA finals. This leveled their head-to-head record at a balanced 6-6, leaving the rivalry perfectly poised heading into 2026. Before the lights bloomed over Arthur Ashe Stadium and before the roar became a living thing, Coco Gauff had already played this match many times. She played it in practice, in recovery rooms, in whispered conversations with her coaches when the world wasn't listening. She played it not with a racket, but with conviction. "I always told them," she said later, holding the trophy that glittered like proof. And those 4 words carried more weight than the silver cup in her hands. Aryna Sabalenka stood on the other side of the net that night like a storm with legs, powerful, loud, relentless. She was the world #2, a Grand Slam champion, a hitter who could make the ball sound like it was being punished for existing. Many saw inevitability when they saw her. Many saw fear. But Coco Gauff never did. From the outside, belief often looks like bravado. On the inside, it is quieter. It's a steady pulse. A refusal to let doubt write the script. "I always told my team," Coco said, "that I could beat her. Not would. Because could leaves room for work." The difference between power and certainty. Sabalenka's game was obvious. You could measure it in miles per hour and decibels. Her forehand cracked like thunder. Her serve arrived before you finished blinking. Commentators loved the simplicity of the story. Power versus youth, force versus finesse. But Coco saw something else. She saw patterns. She saw pauses between points. She saw that even the loudest players had quiet moments where doubt slipped in, uninvited. She saw that strength without patience could turn inward. And she told her team that too. "She's human," was the subtext of every conversation. Not dismissively. Respectfully. Dangerously. Because believing your opponent is human doesn't make them smaller, it makes you braver. Coco had lost to Sabalenka before. Those losses were not erased by belief. They were studied, taken apart like clocks. Where did the pressure shift? When did the match breathe? When did Aryna rush instead of wait? "I always told them," Coco insisted, not because she needed to convince her team, but because she needed to remind herself that confidence isn't loud. It's consistent. The match within the match. When the final began, the The stadium leaned towards Sabalenka's power. The first set followed the expected rhythm: heavy blows, quick points, Coco chasing shadows. It would have been easy, so easy, to let the old narrative return. She lost the first set. And still, she did not panic. Because belief, when it's real, doesn't disappear when things go wrong. It adjusts. Coco didn't suddenly hit harder. She hit smarter. She ran Sabalenka wide, then waited. She gave her time, and time, paradoxically, became the weapon. Each extra ball asked a question. Each rally was a mirror. Can you stay patient? Can you stay calm? Can you trust yourself when the crowd shifts? Coco always believed the answers would change. And they did. What she always knew. That word, always, matters. Not today. Not this week. Not when things go my way. Boys. Coco had been saying it long before the final. Long before the semifinals. Long before the trophy. She said it when no one was retweeting her thoughts or putting microphones in her face. She always told her team that Aryna's power came with risk. That long matches favored legs and lungs. That belief could outlast brute force. Most of all, she always told them that she belonged on that court. For a young athlete who grew up under expectations heavy enough to bend steel, that belief wasn't automatic. It was built, point by point, loss by loss. The 2023 US Open wasn't the birth of that confidence. It was the unveiling of it. When the crowd became a wave. As the match turned, the crowd sensed it before the scoreboard did. Momentum doesn't announce itself, it hums. It spreads from seat to seat until the air feels different. Coco rode that wave, but she didn't rely on it. She had already prepared for the silence, the moments when cheers fade and only your breathing remains. Sabalenka, for all her fire, began to feel the weight of expectation shift. Power that once felt freeing began to feel urgent. Errors crept in. Frustration followed. This was the moment Coco had always believed would come. Not because Sabalenka was weak, but because pressure makes everyone reveal themselves. Victory without surprise. When the final point ended and Coco fell to the court, the tears weren't shock. They were release. Release of years spent proving something that couldn't be measured. Release of telling her team over and over that this match was winnable. Release of knowing she had trusted her voice even when the world had its own opinion. I always told them, she said again. And now, the world listened. The victory wasn't just about beating Aryna Sabalenka. It was about honoring the quiet faith that never wavered. The kind of faith that doesn't need prediction headlines or betting odds. The kind that says, I see you. I respect you. And I still believe in me.